Hello and welcome to Maker Dev episode number 90. Chris, do you know the year that Peter Beagle's classic, The Last Unicorn, published its unabridged audiobook?
1990.
1990! That's correct. The same last two digits as the number for this episode.
That's great. I don't know how I would have guessed.
Cool. How you doing? What'd you get up to this last week?
I'm doing all right. The Last Unicorn will tie into my answer. This last week, I went to Colorado for my brother's wedding. It was very good. The bad side, the only bad part was that my daughter got sick just before. So she could not come, 103 fever and was sick for like 5 days. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't strep. It wasn't flu. It wasn't pneumonia. The doctor said it was just some virus. So my wife had to stay home with her. As part of that, they watched The Last Unicorn, which is why that is part of the opening.
I just randomly picked that as a fun fact. Actually, I had no idea. what a crazy coincidence.
So that's what I did. It was Colorado was cool. It is. So we were up at 7,900 feet for the wedding elevation, which made me like breathe really hard every time I went upstairs. And it's also extremely dry there, but it was beautiful and everything worked nicely. So that's what I did mostly.
Wonderful. And sad that your daughter and wife couldn't go to the wedding, but I got to chat with her a little bit. We're friends now since we visited.
That's right.
It's fun. So we got to chat about this cool mother-daughter thing that she got to do instead. I had never heard of The Last Unicorn. That is now on my movie watching list. Has Angela Lansbury apparently, who is
and Jeff Bridges.
And Jeff Bridges, yeah,
in an animated movie, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Angela Lansbury played Mrs. Lovett in the original West End production of Sweeney Todd. She was on the if you look at the original and the best Sweeney Todd soundtrack on Spotify, Angela Lansbury is Mrs. Lovett. So yeah, I'd like to listen to that. But this I think is indicative of I don't know what the internals of this were, of the fights that happened or getting upset or something, but had something like this happened in my family growing up, I feel like there would have been a lot of extra guilt and shame and fighting between my mom and dad that would have happened. And I'm not getting the sense that happened. And from visiting you, Sarah and I were both struck with oh man, Chris and Brittany have a really nice, stable, healthy relationship. And I think when you have that sort of foundation, this is something Sarah and I have been working a lot on in therapy. You can deal with tragedy without it becoming terrible. There's not this extra layer of it of both of you fighting and blaming each other for what happened and feeling resentment towards each other. This bad thing happened and you dealt with it and it's okay. And I admire you and your family dynamics a lot for that. I think you both made the best of a tricky situation.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, I mean, there was no fighting. There was, it was my brother, so it was clear that I was going to be the one to go, and she would have to stay. And I took my son because he was still healthy, and even the rest of my family was bummed that she couldn't come, obviously. And it was it's kind of lame going to a wedding by yourself if you have a significant other back home. That's sort of silly, but overall. Yeah, everything went smoothly. We're also going to go to my parents' house for Christmas this year, and everyone will be there, all my siblings, and so we're going to bring the flower girl dress that my daughter couldn't wear and stuff, and we're going to take pictures because there were other family members that will be there at Christmas that couldn't be there in Colorado, and so yeah, we'll have a secondary sort of celebration around Christmas time, and yeah, so overall. It's all right, it stinks, but it's all right.
Yeah. That's a wonderful way to still have that sort of special family time. I like that. It can be difficult for me in the moment to realize that it can still be if my dream of how I wanted things to happen, it's clear it's not going to happen because someone's sick or we missed a flight or something. Often you can come up with a new way to achieve the same sort of thing that's actually better. So who knows what might come of this family reunion and bringing the dress and taking pictures, but there may be upsides of that you wouldn't have gotten if it had happened at the wedding. So quality
I mean, even
that sort of situation.
Yeah, even like, so my wife and daughter got some sick time, but daughter mother bonding time, and I traveled with my son for the first time, and so got some father son bonding time for like 4 days, and so yeah, even in that situation, it was good came out of it. So yeah, I think there's upside to most things. Yeah,
that's the sort of memory too that I could imagine growing up. Like that's much more unusual, traveling with only one parent, and it's kind of cool. Like that your son got to hang out with his dad, and your daughter got to hang out with her mom, and got to watch the last unicorn, and like those memories may be more formative than if you had merely gone on like another family trip and just hung out at the wedding. I'm sure the wedding will be memorable regardless, and there's an upside from this. Cool. What else did you get up to this last week?
Well, I got a second user for Acorn Chat to pay, which means
amazing.
I have 100% user growth.
Yes. Somebody invest in this company.
That's right.
Crazy growth.
100% month-on-month growth. Yeah. So that's cool. And it's not even someone who I had talked to before. They just signed up and then they started paying, and that's cool. That happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and now my costs are something like $30-something a month, and my MRR is like $58 a month. So I'm profitable.
All right. Cool.
Counting my time at zero. But that's okay.
We're just having fun when we're working on this. So yeah, the time is like you could be playing video games, or you could be building a SaaS. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What insights have you gained about the type of person who might use Acorn Chat based on who the second customer is?
Yeah. So I actually have to look at their site because I don't even know what they do. I just found out a couple hours ago. But two of the three, so there's one other person who I think will pay soon. I've been talking to him and sort of fixing some stuff up for him. And so two of the three, so I think I'll have 3 paying customers, and 2 are agencies, like small agencies, and agencies for whom like HubSpot or Intercom are too big. So we kind of talked about this last time, but it's like too much stuff in HubSpot or Intercom, and that's the whole point. That's why I built this, is like it's just a super simple, it like does one thing well. And agencies seem to like, they don't get that many messages per month, but the messages they get are extremely valuable because a client to an agency might be worth $100K or something like that. So if they are very responsive, then it can be extremely valuable. So that seems to be a good sort of mental model for me, at least, is like this small agency who maybe it's like 10 people and they don't have multiple teams, but it's also like each client of theirs is very valuable. Yeah.
That's very interesting, because I could imagine segmenting pricing based on number of messages, but that's the opposite of what would make it more valuable for them. I would almost want features that are like a backup text update if somebody messages, or like, I don't know what else that sort of person would want, but it's not more messages. It's not the number of messages per month. It's like guaranteed delivery, or like, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, cool. Congratulations. That's great. This is so exciting. Do you know how they found out about you? Probably through the Slack App Store.
I am assuming through the Slack App Store, but they weren't a Slack install, and because they don't have great analytics, or actually because Slack blocks the referrer, I don't know if they came through the Slack App Store. I assume they did, but because I have no other real marketing going on. Yeah.
Okay. Something I'd be curious about. I know that I think you had said that the Slack App Store doesn't allow paid ads. Is that right? You can't advertise in the Slack App Store?
As far as I know, yeah.
I wonder if people who are looking for a Slack app might search somewhere else, like might search on Google. Like when I'm looking for a Chrome extension, I don't go to the Chrome extension store and then search for it. I search in Google Chrome extension and then the thing that I'm doing, or in DuckDuckGo. So I'm curious if there's an opportunity to buy a Google ad and then eventually convert that to just a SEO page that naturally ranks, that's for a term something along the lines of Slack live chat app, and test if that would convert. How does this sound?
Almost certainly. Yeah. I suspect so. There's probably a lot of people searching for live chat Slack, or customer chat Slack widget, or something like that. So
cool.
When I start doing ads, whenever that is, I have this list. Here it is. It's like 15 features. and I know you're going to tell me not to do features, but several of them are marketing adjacent. And so, and 6 or so of them came from the person who's going to pay me as soon as I implement 2 of them. So, anyway, once I do those, I will feel pretty confident that I implement 80-90% of the features that I would say there are competitors, right, that are just this focused sort of live chat thing.
Yep.
And there are a few features that are like, I'm going to need to have file uploads. I know that because people have asked for it. And so like there are a few features like that. And once I do that, I will feel confident spending money on ads.
Okay. What I'm hearing is you want to build the features before doing marketing. Is that right?
I would say so. Yes, but I would say I've done the marketing efforts by talking to people, and what people are telling me is they want different themes, they want file uploads, they want custom text on different pages, and a couple other things. And so like that's what they're looking for before they spend money. And I've talked to enough people now, which is like 4 or 5, to know that that's exactly what they want. So
I agree with you that those are good, important features to build, and people are paying money for this right now.
That's true. That's
without
true. They are.
File uploads, without any of the other stuff.
There
will always be technical things to build, and this is so much easier to talk to you about this than it is to actually do it myself. So I'm gonna enjoy this while I can.
I'm probably gonna tell you the exact same thing.
Yes, that's what this podcast is. You know what the advice is you should be getting, and I tell it to you, and then we swap and do the exact same thing. How long does it take to buy a Google ad?
Last time I tried, it took me a day, and I didn't do it.
It does take a long time.
I couldn't figure the stupid thing out. I think we talked about this. I want to pay someone $100 just to buy a Google ad for me. Like, if anyone's out there and they want $100 to buy me a Google ad, go for it.
Actually, that's the sort of thing that I imagine would be on Fiverr, that you could just hire someone to do that.
So I've sort of looked for this. The problem is, if I want someone who isn't just some random person like that has references, it's more like $1,000 or $10,000. Like, there are agencies that'll do this for you.
I'll do it for you for $100.
Sweet.
All right, let's do it. What do you want the ad to say?
I don't know. You got to figure that out. That's
I'll figure it out. I'll get you. I will write you a bad ad. Give me access to your Google Ads account. I don't know if you can. I think you can do that without like giving me your Google password.
I have no idea. You got to tell me as part of the $100.
That's part of the $100. I got it. I'm on it. That's gonna be most of the work of the $100.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, I got it. I'll do it. Cool. I'll pay me $100, and I will tell you what to do to give me access to your Google Ads account, and I'll buy you an ad for Slack App Store, or Slack live chat and associated terms. Cool.
Done.
Great. And I'll write the copy. This is great. Fun.
Excellent.
And then zooming at a little higher level, like, this is a trap that I run into all the time of there's always features to do. Making features is so much more straightforward. And you've got to be doing it in parallel. You've got to be doing the marketing at the same time as you're doing the technical stuff. And like, I've lived this for the last 9 years. Like, there's just always been more technical things to do. And that's not how you grow the business. You grow the business by marketing in its imperfect state, because it will always be imperfect. And like, similar to having kids, I think, like, I don't know that a person could ever be like ready to have kids. I was talking to my therapist about this the other day, and I was like, well, I just feel like, you know, if I raise income a little bit, then that's the thing that I need to just like be certain. And he was like, how much money do you have? What's your runway? Like, he didn't use the word runway, but he was like, you know, people have kids when they're poor, right? Like, you're not poor, so you don't. It's fine. Like, just go for it. In the same way, I think I want a perfect product before I market it. And there will never be a perfect product. It can only improve, and as long as I have an imperfect thing that's useful to some people, it's worthwhile to market it. Does that mean I don't have this like burning desire to fix these low-level issues and just like tackle these hard engineering challenges before doing any marketing? No, I really want to do the technical thing. But yeah, I think that's the game of SaaS. Like, you got to be comfortable pushing this, even though it's not perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yes.
That's exactly it's like the high IQ couple is like, well, we got to wait till the market something. And by the end of it, the low IQ couple has like 10 kids and they have none. Yeah, exactly.
That's the game.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to buy you a Google ad.
Great. Awesome. And then at the end, you can tell me if it was worth it or not.
Great.
I suspect the answer
here's
is
the
no.
thing. I can't lose, because like, even if it sucks and I spend 5 hours on it, I've gone through that process for myself.
Yes,
And
exactly.
now I'm like, okay, well, while I went through that nonsense, it's going to be easier for me to buy my own Google ads. So
Yeah,
let's go
might
ahead
as well
and
do it for you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll get into this later, but there's like 3 ads that I need to buy that I think would make sense to do right now. Cool. Congratulations on your 100% user growth. That's very exciting. Cool. And then it sounds like you have next steps laid out of like making features, and I think you said in that list in front of you there's also other marketing things. Is that right?
Yeah, so some of them are like document the features I already have. So like tell people that my app can do the things that it can do. So yeah, some docs. So, let's see what else is on here. Yeah, it's basically documenting the things it can already do, and as part of that, like a video, like an install video, would be super helpful. So putting that on YouTube somewhere and displaying it, yeah. So about half the list is probably documenting or videos or that kind of work.
Okay, that sounds good. That's fun too, because that doesn't feel like marketing to me. That feels like just helping people use the product. Yeah,
right.
But it can count for both.
Because one of my users was like, "How do I do this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I should have a page. How do you do this?" And make it SEO, searchable and stuff. Yeah,
that's the best way to handle customer support. I think is for every customer support request you get, ask the question, what would have to be true so that I never get this sort of request again.
Yeah,
and a lot of the time that's just have better documentation or have a video or something like that.
Yep.
Cool. You won $5,000 from Kaggle last time we talked. Did they send it to you as a check or in $1 bills, or what's that?
Yes. So not yet. Winners always have winner obligations. They're clearly laid out at the beginning of the competition, but this competition has a couple. One is to open source the code that I used to get all the flags. So I did that. And you can do it a few different ways. You can like put it on GitHub. No matter what you do, you have to post a discussion like message with your link to the code. But Kaggle also has these notebooks that are, basically like, GitHub. It'd be like hosting on a GitHub, except that you can actually run it against the Kaggle like infrastructure. Oh, cool. So that's what I did. So I did that. And then the last part is I need to give a presentation to the competition like runners. And most of the time the presentation is like, so you have to do this if you win any of the competitions, but most of the time it's like, here's what I did, here's my model, here's how to use it. So that the competition runners, like usually it's a company or something, and they can take your model and then run it in production if they want. And it's like an hour presentation, it's just like a call basically. That's like, here's what I did. This one is weird because there's no like model, and it's not like they're going to run it in production. So I asked Kaggle about it, and they were like, yeah, let's get back to you on that. And so I think what it's going to be is more like, here's what I thought about the competition, here's how you can improve it next time, here's what was confusing, stuff like that. But so that call should happen at some point. It's not scheduled yet, but in the next month or so. And then after that, I should get $5,000 as long as everything goes well. So
cool. And
by goes well, I mean, the reason you open source the code is because they run it against things that detect like, not plagiarism necessarily, but like if you run like, it is more important in like bigger data science competitions where like if you run something with proprietary code that other people can't access, like that's against the rules of Kaggle. And so they make sure basically that you can run everything with open source code or data sets that are freely accessible and stuff like that. So I did, so that should all go well.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds like just after a fun conversation where you get to complain about that last problem that nobody got. Yeah, great.
Which someone solved, by the way. Yeah, someone solved that. After several hints, they solved it. Yeah. And did we talk about this last time that someone solved it?
You outlined your method of how you might solve it based on the hints. Did they follow a similar method?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a few key things that I assumed that were wrong that it seems like everyone assumed, and if you would not have assumed those and assumed slightly different things, then you could have solved it. So it's like the problem was slightly underspecified, which was the key problem. But and it's like if you think about how you would make these like competitions, it's really, really hard to get something that's hard enough to take a smart person a day to solve, but is easy enough that takes less than a month. Like, yeah, it's actually pretty difficult to get a competition that fits there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have to hit right in that zone of flow between being too easy or too hard. Yeah, that is hard. And I guess having only one challenge that was too hard, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think they had something like 12 or something in total.
It was like 21. Yeah.
21. Okay.
Yeah.
How many of those would you say were too easy?
I wouldn't say too easy. I think they appropriately put the easy ones at the start, which means you could solve like 4 like in an hour, which got you really into the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like you solve the first ones, you're like, all right, this is easy, and then you hit like the 6th or 7th one, you're like, uh-oh. And so I think they did that pretty well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think that was perfectly balanced then. And I guess keeping one that's too hard is kind of nice, because it's like IQ tests. If you give someone an IQ test and they get all the questions right, they've broken your IQ test, because they're smarter than the test. So it's outside of the ranges of what you can test. So like by having one question that was too hard for everyone, that kind of means, okay, well, assuming the questions are on a spectrum of difficulty, we kind of nailed it. Like maybe in the future we have 2 questions that are too hard, and maybe one person gets one of the questions. Yeah, okay, that's a pretty good way to set up that system. Cool. I'm excited for you to get that $5,000, funnel it into advertising for Acorn Chat.
Sure.
Cool.
I was gonna say I spent way more than my consulting rate times hours to get that $5,000.
For sure.
Worth for me. So I'm gonna use it on living expenses. Is what I'm gonna use it on.
Ooh, exciting. Groceries.
Right.
I did a hackathon in college and won something like $2,000, and they were interviewing me afterwards, like, "Oh my gosh, $2,000! What are you gonna do with that?" I was like, "Probably buy groceries." They're like, "What? You gotta? It's just fun competition. Like, don't tell us about how you're poor. You need to use this money to buy groceries." But yeah. Okay, cool. I also heard that you have some recommendations on some key hacks for having a better Twitter timeline in just 30 seconds.
That's right.
Tell us about those.
Yeah, so I mentioned this, like, it used to be I only followed people on Twitter who were either my friends in real life or were like in my sphere, so like SaaS or Rails or JavaScript or whatever. And recently, especially, it's all been growth hack threads, and that's like been my entire Twitter timeline, and I've gotten really bored of that. So here are 3 recommendations for people to follow who will not give you growth hack threads. They just make my day happier every time I see them. The first is Rainmaker 1973, which sounds kind of weird, but this is like tech adjacent, like science adjacent. Basically, they're like just like no threads, just one tweet, and I learn something every single time. So it's about really interesting sciencey things or how the world works kind of things, and that is very, very high value for tweet.
Whoa. The top tweet right now is a video of an octopus. It says, "Since octopuses lack bones, they can contort their bodies to fit into tiny spaces. This makes them excellent escape artists, as confirmed by this one." And it's a video of an octopus squeezing through the tiniest little hole.
I know. It's always a cool video or a cool GIF or whatever. So, yeah, that's a great one. The second one is completely unrelated, which is We Rate Dogs. So I'm sure there's a cat equivalent, but it's just happy dogs, fun dogs. And so every day, a few times a day, you get a nice dog. And then the last one is The Punny World, which is multiple great puns every single day. The one today was fun fact: Australia's biggest export is boomerangs. It's also its biggest import. And I smile every time I read them, and then I tell them to Brittany, and she rolls her eyes. And those are my 3 Twitter people to follow.
That sounds great. I'm so glad I expanded the tweet verbally of what you were saying. I have some thoughts on Twitter threads. Sure. I think those are a symptom of Twitter measuring engagement poorly, because it's clickbait, right? It's you're not delivering the value in this tweet. I have to expand the tweet to get the full value. So there's and then I'm sure Twitter is like measuring the engagement of tweets to be able to see like what tweets are people engaging with the most. So that's the tweet that will show people in their timeline. And that could be something like favoriting it, or that could be something like, click on the image to expand it. Or probably it's, they clicked, show all the tweets in this thread. But then, of course, what that creates is people making these tweets where like, you have to click the next one, you have to keep reading, and it's just these constant cliffhangers. And I don't like that. I think it's a gamification of the system of what they're doing. Like, I could see the same sort of thing happening if I could devise some sort of a tweet that made it so that people favorited it. Oh, there's a image social sharing platform that's sort of adjacent to Reddit called Imgur.
Yeah.
And there was a post I saw on Imgur this one time where the image was designed in a way that made the like animation like part of the image. I think when you liked an image on the mobile app, it had a heart in the middle of the image that like went forward, and they had drawn like a body around that heart, and so then when you clicked it, like the heart came from the person or something, and it had millions of likes because the way to engage with this image is to like it. It's that same sort of hack. Like it's cool the first time you see it, but then if that becomes the gimmick and just like everyone's doing threads because that's optimizing this game of trying to get the most engagements while keeping people on the platform, it's gross. And I think I'm not against threads. I like the idea of having more information than can fit in a single tweet, and I have seen some threads that I've really enjoyed that go through multiple bullet points of an argument, and I think Visacan is his name, does threads really well. That's my recommended follow for a Twitter thread. He does like interesting psychology and mental health and programming stuff. So he'll have a thread that's sort of like a mini essay, and every tweet is one idea, but he's not doing these link baity scammy posts where like you'd have to keep reading to get just what is the meat of what you're trying to say. So I think if I was Twitter, the way that I would fix this is just bump down the score for engagements that are specifically expanding a thread. I think it would be better if you sort of treated a thread as one atomic unit, and as long as I'm reading within the thread, it's as if I'm just reading one tweet, and then treat those as roughly the same. It may also be that they're overvaluing the time that I spend on it, and then if I'm reading in the thread, the time goes up, and so have some way to account for that. But I think that's a adjustment that the platform should make that would make Twitter better.
Yeah, I agree. And I've done threads before. Actually, most of my followers came from threads, which is exactly why people do threads. But so I've done a couple of the link baity threads, and I should delete them because they're not great. And that got more engagement than a regular tweet, which is why people do it. But I've also done threads that have taken me, like the biggest thread I've done probably took me a week to write. And it was like learn React in 10 tweets. It's my top retweeted thread. And that, like, I had an image that was densely packed. There were 10 tweets. There were it's like what I would put in a course, but in a Twitter thread. And the engagement on that was through the roof. But it's because they spent so much time on it. And so I wouldn't mind if people spent a ton of time and wrote threads that are like that are like really, really, deeply trying to teach you something. But most of them are, like, here's 10 resources for whatever, or you'll never believe whatever. I can't stand those.
Yeah. It's like a crappy BuzzFeed article, but in tweets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't like it. The listicle style things where it's, I used to be homeless, and now I run a $4 billion company. Yeah. All it took were these 10 secrets that I learned from reading books, and then they're all just like sleep, exercise, eat food. You're like, okay, calm down.
Although the thing that I have found very fascinating recently, like I actually like these threads, are the joke threads that are like King Charles gained $833 million with these 2 tips. It's like be born, wait, or something like that. So I like those.
Aaron Francis had one of those recently that was like there was some company that was selling, and I can't remember which one it was, but he was like, I run a $10 SaaS, and here's what I would have done to have doubled the profit of the sale value of this company. And it wasn't a thread; it was just pretending to be a thread. I thought that was really funny, because you read $10 and you're like, oh, 10 million, because the other thing is like, but no, he just runs a SaaS that has made $10. I think. So.
I should do that. I'm at 59 MRR.
Yeah, start. I think you're an influencer now. You're a thought leader in this
Exactly.
space. That's funny.
Anyway, so follow more dogs on Twitter. That's my recommendation.
I like that. Cool. I have 3 things to talk about. First thing, as always, is FileInbox. I'm very proud of myself for keeping that focus. The second is contracting. I want to ask you some questions about that. And the third, I want to talk about cabinets.
Cool.
FileInbox. I got frustrated with myself that during the month that Sarah and I were in Genco Village and getting married, I got like 2 days of work done. So I feel like everything with FileInbox sort of got pushed forward by a month because just nothing was happening. And I had another call with Jonathan Zacks, my very good friend and SEO consultant, and we went through the Facebook pages that we had changed from things that I'd added and pages that I changed, and he went through to see how those were doing. And so a benefit of not doing anything for a month, well, that's not a benefit. Time has passed, and so
Sure.
I'm able to see what the results of the marketing things that we did were, and promising results. Several of the pages are now ranking on the first page of Google with like minimal effort. One in particular is a page called You Send It Alternative. You Send It was the previous name for another file sending thing that I don't remember the name of. But that's ranking on the first page. And if you go to the page on FileInbox, it's just like a copy and pasted. Like the content is exactly the same as all these other template pages I have, where it's just a table of features that I have and features that You Send It had. And it's telling people that they should go make a FileInbox account. And that's on the first page. And
That's awesome.
It got to the first page in, I think, 2 months with minimal effort on my part. And then several other pages are on like pages 2 and 3 of Google. And those are also the same crappy pages where it's just a skeleton of a thing. But Jonathan gave me the advice that like if I just flesh those out more, if I just add more content, if I, for each term that I'm trying to rank for, like look at the pages that are currently ranking for that, see what sort of information they're providing, and then flesh it out with that information. And he gave me a great tip, which was when you Google something, sometimes in Google it pops up with the other people also search for, and it's questions involving that. So like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like a Citrix share file alternative. If you Google Citrix share file alternatives, the suggested people also search for box might say something like Citrix share file maximum file upload size or something. And so that phrase is a really good phrase to include in your page. And don't just include the phrase, like answer the question, but that wording is things that people are Googling for. So I have a bunch of new to-dos for on the SEO front of fleshing out those pages to make them rank even higher. And I am already seeing promising results, which is what I expected given what I know about how FileInbox is ranking in SEO stuff. I think this is a game that I have a disproportionate advantage of because I have a whole bunch of backlinks. But it's nice to see that it actually worked. So that was cool. I have 2 other things on SEO, but I'll pause there if you have any thoughts.
That's awesome. That reminds me that I need to make alternative pages for all of the competitors I have, which is a lot of them. And I love that tip about the people also search for and then answering those questions in the pages. That is awesome. If you do that and you get on, go higher up the front page of Google, that's like a microconf talk you could give, right? Like, there's a lot of secondary things you could do with this information. That's awesome. That's great.
Yep. I said the same thing to Jonathan. Like that's the first time I'd ever heard that tip, and it sounds so obvious and like a really good idea. And he was like, "Oh, I can't take credit for that." So he got it from somewhere else. I don't know where.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but very good idea. Oh, while we're on the topic, are you doing embeds when people embed Acorn Chat in the website? Is that a link to Acorn Chat?
There is a link once you click the widget.
If you
it may be displayed. I can't remember what I've done now. It may be display none. It may be on the page, but display none. Actually, it is on the page because one of the bugs I have right now is someone has a CSS rule, which is overriding my rule, which is making the Powered by Acorn Chat widget display even when you haven't clicked the thing. So I have a link on the page that I'm just either displaying none or visible, false or whatever the thing is. And it's not working on this guy's page. So I have to fix that. So I do have a link that is on the page.
Okay. That Google
but
can
it just
see.
goes, what's that?
Can Google see it? Like, is the code that when someone copy and paste HTML that's your embed code in their website, is that it is included in that code? Is there a link to your website?
So no, if you're not running JavaScript, which I know was your recommendation before, and I haven't changed that. Yeah.
Okay.
But
I highly recommend that. That was like the thing that I did completely accidentally that drastically increased the SEO ranking of FileInbox. Because now everyone who has ever embedded FileInbox in their website, which is a nice feature that they want to do, has a backlink to my site. And there are some like high ranking sites that have used FileInbox and are currently using FileInbox. So that's like where most of my SEO juice is coming from.
Yep.
Cool. There were also a handful of other small things to do. Like right now, all of my articles, it was written in Rails, and so I just made like an article CRUD scaffold, and so the default path for that is fileinbox.com/articles/ the slug. And he said, it's probably better if you remove articles and just have the slug there. So I'm gonna do that. And also redirects. I changed the slug of an article, so the URL changed. And when he was looking that one up in Ahrefs, Google and Ahrefs seemed to be confused about what that was because it was a 502 redirect, which is a temporary redirect. So I think Google, when it sees a 502, ignores the URL.
Do you mean 302 or 502?
What do I mean? 302. Yeah, sorry,
okay.
302. Okay. So instead of 302, change that to 301, a permanent redirect. And then Google will stop being confused, and Ahrefs will stop being confused, and that may be having some impact on SEO. So it's probably better to change it. It's interesting in this game because there's a lot of cloak and dagger, like we don't know if this will work, but like you should probably do it, and then we'll wait 2 months and test and see what the result was.
Exactly. And it'll work now until Google updates their algorithm to do whatever. Yeah.
Right. It's an inaccurate science, but
that's why SEO consultants have unlimited, supply of things to teach you, because it always changes.
Yeah. I feel so thankful for being able to have these conversations with Jonathan, because like he's been playing this game consciously for a long time, and he'll whip out these nuggets of wisdom, like answer the suggested people also ask questions in your page, and it's things that like how else would I have known to do that? Like it's really nice to have him as a guide for pointing me in the right direction of what to do here. So Jonathan, I think you're a listener of the podcast. Thank you so much. You're helping me out a lot.
He should write those up as tweet threads, and then
oh God,
yeah.
Hopefully not. A second project in marketing stuff for FileInbox is, so I took Ellie Abdul's Part-Time YouTuber Academy last year, 2 years ago, and my big takeaway from that was like YouTube is a very drastically underused platform in SaaS stuff. People are on YouTube all the time watching videos. The bar of the quality of content that you need to make, especially in niche content, is pretty low. And the volume of traffic that you can get is way higher. Like the game of YouTube, the game that YouTube is trying to play is try to get more people watching more videos. So they're going to surface your content for you. And as long as you're just making engaging content, you don't have to play this game of like getting other people to link to your video. You don't have to play this game of, SEO and buying paid ads and stuff. You just make good content, and YouTube, if people like your stuff, YouTube will start sending people to you. So the insight I had from that was like, I should really be combining this YouTube game of making videos with SaaS stuff. Because the downside of just playing the YouTube game is people are talking about CPM, cost per mil,
cost per M, not mil. M is Roman numerals for 1,000, right?
Cost per 1,000. Oh, is that what that is? Everyone says cost per mil. Yeah, mil is 1,000. It's cost per 1,000.
Yes.
And I didn't know it was because of the Roman numeral. That makes perfect sense. Look at that.
I think so. So maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. Roman numeral for 1,000.
I was thinking it was like when people pronounce it, they say cost per meal, and I think it's like a millisecond is 1/1000th of a second.
That makes sense. My Chrome just froze, so
okay.
keep talking. We'll find out as soon as M is Roman numeral for 1,000. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So the game that people who are only playing the YouTube game are playing is that they're making a CPM, cost per M, or 1,000, meaning of about like, $2 to $6 would be really high. So if you're a popular YouTuber like Ali Abdaal and you make a video and it gets 10,000 views, you're making like $10. And that game only really starts to make sense when you're in the millions of views per video. And then you can just make bukus of money. But I had the thought, like, wow, making, $2 per 1,000 views isn't that much. And if you have a conversion rate of 1% of people who watch your video that then click to your website, and you have 1,000 people go to your watch your video, that's 10 people going to your website. And then if you have, if it's high intent, like it's people who click through your website, if you have 10% of those people sign up for your SaaS, okay, that's now 1 out of 1,000 people who watch the video are signing up for your SaaS. If you make more than $4 on that, you're like beating this YouTube game. And usually that number for SaaS is in like the hundreds of dollars. So those are the two things I want to be combining. I want to be somehow making videos that people, watch the video and then eventually sign up for my SaaS. And that's still something I want to test. But one of the things that I talked about with Jonathan on the call was like, Hrefs can also see YouTube search information. They can also see what people are searching for on YouTube. And the volume of traffic for people, we just searched a couple terms of like, how to upload file or how to send file. The volume of traffic for that is drastically lower than on Google. And I think I had this base assumption that was like, this is a huge untapped market that if I just make a couple of videos, this is going to explode. And I think I feel a little more reserved about that now. I don't know that it would explode. It's still worthwhile as an experiment. I still want to test this, but I think I may have made a fundamental incorrect assumption about what people are using YouTube for. I'd like to figure out a way to make this work. I don't know if it just means I need to make a different sort of video of like, instead of how to send file, it's like 5 tips for running a profitable sign printing business or something. But that's another thing I'm thinking about, this marketing via YouTube video game. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I would be very interested to see the volume difference. One thing I thought of that when you were talking was, so people do search YouTube for how-to tutorials, and I think that could be a very, like that was my initial thought too. But when you were just talking, I thought, maybe you need to go even one step higher than the how to run a profitable sign printer or something. Make something that more people are likely to find sort of for entertainment purposes. And then because the YouTube works the way it works, it's sort of like the Facebook, what's it called? The Facebook cookie or whatever. So as soon as someone watches your video on YouTube, they are more likely to be shown your next videos.
Yeah.
So you have a video that's very high funnel, and then the next video is something like how to run a profitable sign printing business. And then the next video is like how to accept file uploads for your sign printing business. Yeah. So that triplet of videos. So they watch the first one, the next day they get recommended the next one, the next day they get recommended the next one. And you should see your views drop off for each one, but that I think would raise your views for the next one or the last one.
Yeah.
So that might be an interesting way to do that. But you would have to think of like, what is the next step up from how to run a profitable sign printing business? Is like, I keep getting back to, it's like, it's going to be clickbaity. Like the 10 silly things customers do at sign printing businesses.
Yeah.
I don't know, something ridiculous.
We're back to Twitter threads.
Exactly.
I think I think what you're suggesting is like, design the funnel for that.
Yeah.
And like advertise video number 2 to people who have watched video number 1, and then advertise video 3 to people who have watched video number 2.
My point is you won't have to. YouTube will do that for you. As long as you release them all within like the same week, say.
Yeah.
Like a couple days apart. YouTube will do that for you.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. That's an interesting tactic. That's something I'd like to try. And I think I don't like that I'm not in control of the funnel.
Yeah.
I feel like what would happen then is like, I would get a whole bunch of people watching the first video that was, I don't know, me doing a comedy sketch about stuff, and it goes super viral. And then YouTube says, this channel is very engaging in this one video. Let's do some tests of these other videos. And it tries showing people video number 2, and it tries showing people video number 3. And then what YouTube realizes is like, nobody likes video number 3. Some people like video number 2. Let's push video number 2 a little bit, and then mainly just show video number 1 to people who haven't seen it yet.
That's totally possible. And since I don't know what I'm talking about, I have no idea if it will work or not. So
that's the fundamental thing with this.
Test
is just
it,
like
right?
test
Yeah, I
it,
don't
see what
know.
happens. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. TikTok also is something I don't understand, but I've heard of people who search TikTok as if they would search Google, and so I would also like to experiment with that.
Yeah, we talked about that before. I have a feeling that would be similar. Like, I can't see people watching a TikTok and then signing up for a FileInbox SaaS based on a TikTok. Like, I don't see that happening at all. But maybe I'm totally wrong. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know.
So here's something. Okay, this is a good segue into the third marketing channel. This is something we've talked about a few times. I want to build a file sending feature, and last week I took this seriously and did a bunch of research into current file sending things and spec'd out my notebook's just full of like screen mockups and feature lists and things. A file sending feature is the sort of thing that I could see doing well on TikTok or YouTube, because that's much more consumery. Like sending a file is something a lot of people need to do. Most people have encountered this problem of trying to send a file and it's too big, or you're trying to send a secure document and you don't like that you're emailing this thing with your social security number on it or something. So maybe a way to do this is to build this feature for file sending and then make YouTube videos. And even like, I don't even have to be making the videos myself. I can be, contacting influencers. I hate that word, on YouTube and TikTok and offering them money or like a free account, or just chatting with them to make videos about this. So if a video came up on TikTok or YouTube that was like, hey, here's 5 cool tools you can use to make yourself more productive, and one of those 5 tools is the FileInbox sending file feature, that's something that I could see that's much more consumer focused. So that's a tie-in with the last one, but I also want to talk about specifically the file sending because I have a question about it. When I did all this research on file sending as a feature, I realized that file sending could be its own product. And before I was framing it as this is just going to be like a loss leader, like a engineering and marketing thing, so that I can get more customers for receiving files. But a lot of the companies who are doing file sending have features like read receipts or download receipts. That when I'm trying to send you a file, I upload the file, I send you the link. A lot of these services will send me a notification when you have downloaded it. That's cool, but also that's like, I'm the professional now. That's a sort of like if I'm creating digital assets that you're hiring me to make, and then I send them to you, I would want to know when you downloaded them.
Yeah.
Other things like that. Oh, like white labeling the download page, that when you visit the page to download it, it's my logo in the upper left and it's like my branding and my colors. What else? Emailing, tracking downloads, setting an expiration date, encrypting the files, but I think that's something I'm going to do anyway. There's a cluster of features that I feel like is targeting a different market. It's targeting people who are trying to send files instead of receive them. And I don't know how to think about that. Like, one of the things I could do is just make a very I think this is what I'm going to start with regardless. Make a very minimal file sender that doesn't include any of these fancy features. It's just file sending. And when people receive the files via email or via this link, I'm advertising to the person receiving the files, and I'm saying, hey, you just got a file. If you get files routinely and you'd like to make it really easy for people to send you files, and you'd like to not even think about it and have it go directly to your Google Drive or Dropbox, and you want it branded and you want it embedded in your page and whatever else, you should sign up for an account with me. Otherwise, no worries, download your files, have a good day. I think that's the starting point. But then the next step is like, I could be improving the file sending feature and I could be charging for the file sending feature, but now I sort of have 2 different related but different products where I'm charging people for sending files and they have their own feature set of sending files. And then I'm also charging people for receiving files, and that's kind of its own thing. And I'm just confused about how to approach that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Previously, I've been sort of down on the file sending feature because I felt like that's been too consumery. Like, it's, as a solo SaaS person, I think most of your business will come from businesses. Most of your good business anyway, like, low support load and that kind of stuff. I really like the idea that people like agencies want to send files where they are encrypted and they know who downloads them and when, and maybe people can comment back and forth on the file, or they have a white labeled page or something like that. I like all those features. I still don't really like the consumer idea for you, but as a yeah, I don't know. Like, it would be interesting to test, but I wouldn't pour a ton of engineering effort into it, especially before you get I would get the serverless thing done regardless first.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been weighing on your mind more heavily. I like file sending as a leader into a business to business file sending kind of thing. I also think it could be the same product. So when you have a file inbox, you can receive files on your white labeled page, or you can send files on your white labeled page. And I sort of feel like that could be the same product. You could also run it as two, but as a solo dev, I think having it as one is easier. So I don't know. Did any of that resonate?
I think my takeaway is I'm overthinking it.
All right.
I like the idea of having it as the same product, and then you get the file sending and the file receiving features. I'm curious that may lead to people buying a subscription but then only using half of that, but I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hear what you're saying about like not wanting to go into file sending as a solo dev. And I may just be I'm definitely naive right now, but like it seems really straightforward. Like file sending seems like a cakewalk. Like I don't have to think about syncing it to different cloud storage. I don't have to think about like creating accounts. I'm probably gonna have to think about like, people sending terrible files to each other, and then the police contact me and are like, "Hey, tell us everything you know about this person," or something, or remove this file. So I don't love that, but this is always something that I could shut down. This is a marketing experiment. This isn't like a huge business pivot. So okay, I think like most of the things we talk about, I think the answer is just I need to try it and see what happens. Okay, I think that's what I'll do. Speaking of the serverless transition, it's going very well. Excuse me. Last time we talked about this tiny bug I had that I was just going to iron out like the next day of the memory, the storage on a Firebase Cloud Function actually being in-memory storage. So I was running out of RAM, and I had a very clever, very good idea for how I was going to change that to like download and upload in chunks so that I wasn't using very much memory. And I did that, and it took way longer than I thought. It took like 3 days. And then after I did it, I tested it, and I still got the memory errors. And I was like, how is that possible? I only ever have, 36 megabytes in RAM at a time. And that led me down this rabbit hole of garbage collection and memory management, and like I haven't thought about this since college, but like the JavaScript runtime has to be checking periodically to see how full the RAM is, and then go through and do garbage collection. And garbage collection, I didn't realize this, but it's like a really expensive process. It takes like a second to go through and garbage collect. So this isn't just something you can do all the time. This is like you got to be purposeful about it. So I was like, no worries. I got this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to manually run garbage collection. And then I'll be monitoring the memory myself. And when the memory gets too high, clearly the JavaScript runtime isn't doing this very well. So I'll just trigger I'll pause everything and run garbage collection and then resume everything. And as soon as so on the road to do that, I just wanted to like print out what the memory usage is. And so as soon as I'm just printing it out, I stop getting the memory errors and I start getting timeout errors where the program just stops and it's just not running. And and then it's like, oh, your invocation, I think it's a 9-minute timeout on serverless cloud functions. It would be printing out stuff, and it would be saying, okay, your memory's I thought what I would see is like my memory going up and then keep going up and then it would crash. But it started going up and I was like, here we go. And then it went down, and then it started going up and then went down. And I was like, oh, okay, well, the garbage collector is clearly working now. And then it just stopped. So that's where I am right now. And it's frustrating. And I have some more ideas of how to go forward. But that's where I am right now.
That's interesting. I wonder if just looking at the memory made it garbage collect, and so you have
Yes.
yeah,
Schrodinger's memory leak. Yeah.
that's right. Well, hopefully figure it out. I don't have any advice other than good luck.
I think so timeout errors are like another class of errors that are solvable. I think what I'm going to do is just, I know the part of code that it's timing out on, so I think I'm just going to wrap that part of code in a timeout that says if you don't finish within, it's uploading 36 megabytes, so that should finish in like 5 seconds, or much less. If you don't finish this chunk within 5 seconds, then throw an error and try that part again. And there's some other clever things I can do of like, right now I'm trying to upload every file in parallel, and I think I could instead be looking at how big the file is. All of the files are, chop all of them up into chunks, and then treat each chunk as a thing that I'm doing in parallel, and then I can be dynamically uploading all these chunks. So I think I'm gonna do that.
Then you'll never get to a timeout, because I can imagine if you try to upload like a 10 gigabyte file, that would definitely time out. Right?
Yeah.
So,
but if I have 3 concurrent threads, and I then I can just and the Dropbox infrastructure supports this. It allows me to just send chunks of files and in whatever order I want, as long as I'm being consistent. And then Google Cloud Storage lets me download files at whatever byte range I want. So, man, I'm like, I know so much about file uploads and downloads in the cloud. This is good.
Cool.
I'd like to do like, if I had a consulting job for doing file uploads and downloads or something, that would be very easy for me now. Which leads me to my next point. All right, the other thing I wanted to do.
I'm hearing something going on. One sec.
Okay.
Sorry, hold on.
I will entertain our listeners with a small anecdote from my life from today. Oh, here he comes. Maybe. And that's the story of how I almost died. Oh, hey, Chris. How's it going?
Brittany brought the kids home and then left to do an errand, and they were fighting and needed parental intervention. So that's what that was.
Good.
All right.
Saving the day. Was it a fight about anything good?
No, it never is. Yeah, it's always, he hit me, and it actually was him doing, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen I think it's an Instagram account of why my kid is crying, and it's like, it's things like, the reason is that she's crying because she wants to go to the zoo, and it's a picture of the child at the zoo. Yeah.
I think there was one once, he's crying because I cut the broccoli, but the broccoli was his friend or something. I remember that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, to be a child. But that's right. When I get upset, it's about equally trivial things. Like, it's
Sure. So I'll cut that out in post. No problem. All right. I'll probably keep this though, because this is hilarious.
Yeah. I started rambling thinking it might be interesting, but I don't think it actually was. So yeah. Okay. Cool. Segue into talking about consulting. So I picked up another consulting job for it's not official yet, actually. It's probably official. And I don't know if I can talk about who the client is yet, so I'll probably talk about it next time. But it's a nice little job. It's probably going to take me a couple days, and I'm going to make a couple grand, and providing a lot of business value for him, and a nice little way for me to break up the type of work I'm doing for me. And I am talking a lot with Sarah about building a family and like earning more money and saving money and having a nest egg and like saving for kids' college and all sorts of things like that. So I am interested in raising my income, and I see consulting as a good way to do that in the interim while I'm working on getting FileInbox to 20K MRR. And of the 3 or 4 contracting jobs that I've talked about on this podcast so far, all of them have just sort of landed in my lap. It's been friends who I was talking back and forth with, and they had been hinting that they had some sort of a problem, and I was like, I could probably do that for you. And then I did it, and it was great. And I'm curious what it might look like if I was doing more active outreach for getting these sorts of jobs. Like, do I go on Fiverr? Do I do a Twitter post? Do I do a giant Twitter thread talking about 10 reasons why you should hire me to do your contracting job? Should I make a portfolio? I think you've done a lot more consulting than me, so I'm curious if you currently wanted to ramp up consulting, how might you go about that?
Yeah, my answers for you would be no, yes, no, no. So I'll break that down.
What?
Yep. You asked 4 questions, so I gave 4 answers. I would not go on Fiverr.
Okay.
I would not do a Twitter thread, and I would not necessarily make a portfolio.
You kept track of those surprisingly well. I just throw these questions out there. I'm not keeping track of the answers.
That's right. The one yes that you might consider, if you want to go kind of public with it, is a single Twitter post. So not a thread, but just a post. Something like, I want to do a little more consulting. I have 4 days a month. Does your company need help with XYZ, whatever you think you're the best at? It's better if that list is shorter rather than longer, and the more specific you go, ironically, the better you'll the better chances you'll have at getting stuff. Like if you just say JavaScript, people will not understand what that is. If you say like file sending infrastructure, I don't know if that's exactly right for your audience, but anyway, you'll get better leads. So yeah, if you want to go public, that's the first thing I'll try. You might get 0 leads for that, or you might get 3 contracts over the next 3 months. Cool. But it'll at least get sort of the ball rolling for people to know that you are wanting to do consulting. When I was doing consulting, I didn't do a Twitter thread, although ironically right now I'm considering doing a Twitter thread. I have some time, and so I might do a Twitter thread. But what I found is seeds that I planted early sometimes bore fruit in 8 months, a year. And so that Twitter thread might get you 0 or 1 contracts in the short term, but over the next 2 years, if people understand that you are willing to do consulting for a couple days a month for this one technology, then that's when I could really see it working out for you. So yeah, I would do a Twitter thread, or you could just manually reach out to people who you think might need your services, people who you already know, and I would expect it to get 0 or 1 contracts in the short term, but over the long term, half dozen would be my guess. Yeah, that's some information about consulting.
Cool. I think I love the advice of be specific. Don't just say JavaScript. Say React or something even more specific than that. I think one of the areas that I'd like to do more consulting in for sure is Firebase, and I can tag Firebase in the tweet, so people looking for Firebase would see that. Another one that I think might be good is FFmpeg stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I think FFmpeg also has if not a hashtag, or if not an account, then a hashtag. And I don't know that I have a third one. I could just say general React development. Something to that, like when I do consulting for friends, they have a problem, and then I just figure out the technology to solve the problem. So I'm curious what it would look like if I'm advertising a specific tool that I'm using to solve the problem, what that would look like. But like you're saying, I can't just generically say any software problem you have, I can solve it. I think it would be better to advertise the specific technologies. Okay. Firebase and FFmpeg.
Yeah. You could probably do React too, and that'd be okay. But Firebase and FFmpeg are specific enough that I think would be really good. The other thing I'd suggest is, which I haven't done before, but look at try to search Twitter for other people who have high engagement tweets advertising consulting services, and try to see if there's a general framework of tweet that gets a lot of engagement. That'd be interesting to look up. I haven't really done that search, but that's what I would do. Yeah, I would spend a lot of time I'd spend a lot of time crafting the tweet that you send out. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good advice. Cool, thank you. Oh, you know what I could do too is send out a email to my newsletter and see if anybody would like work done. Okay, cool. That feels very doable. Last thing I want to talk about, I'm making cabinets,
awesome.
Starting with drawers, and it's so much fun. I got to make my first cuts on this new table saw, and it's so cool. It's so accurate, and after I ran the plywood through, I felt the edge, and I felt the edge that I thought I had just cut, but that was the factory edge. And then I felt the other edge, but it was just as smooth. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't tell which edge is the one that I just cut. And then I tested it again, and the edge that I cut is smoother than the one that came from the factory. So that's really cool, which I'm happy with because I got this special blade to be ultra smooth and stuff. And I got drawer slides that are undermount drawer slides and soft close, and I'm measuring all the stuff, and I have my way of building a box that I think is the best way out of all these tens of hours of research on YouTube. I'm going to do box joins, which is where you cut little like grooves in each of the ends, and then you slot them together and put glue in between, and then it holds itself in place and sort of self squares itself. And it was really fun being in the kitchen with Sarah and being like, all right, here's the space we have to work with. Do you want 2 drawers? Do you want 3 drawers? Do you want like 1 big one and 2 small ones? Do you want like big, medium, small? And we're measuring like the pots and stuff that are eventually going to go in the drawers. And I love that category of expertise that like I don't have to go to a store and figure out what drawers to get. I am building the expertise to be able to make whatever the custom thing is that I want. And like drawers and cabinets are no longer magic to me. It's a set of components. Soft close drawer slides are magic, and that's something that I don't think any reasonable person should be making themselves. But
No, right.
the process of just like building a box is it's stopped being magic to me. And now there's this whole other dimension of reality that I'm like hyper aware of like if I'm watching a movie and they've got kitchen cabinets, I'm like, ooh, there's a standard American frame, and it's not soft close, and it's this sort of front in the drawer. And I went to go visit my sister last night, and I was like analyzing their cabinets, and she was like, "Are you looking for something, dude?" And I was like, "No, I'm just looking at the cabinets." It's a quarter method to make her cabinet drawers, where you slot in a 1/4-inch dado in all the drawers, and then they kind of slot together. And they're much better built than the cabinets at our condo, which are just like butt joints, which is just one board against another board with a whole bunch of glue. And I got to see the underside of one of the drawers, and it's just like glue gooping out from all these different places that had dried. So picked up a new hobby, and it's a lot of fun and useful.
Yeah, that's great. I got into that a little. I didn't get as far as you did, though, but I want to, because in the kitchen too, although other places in our house, there's at least like 3 spots that could really use a very specific piece of furniture or cabinetry, and you can't buy it. So like one of them is like, I have this spot in my kitchen which is skinny enough for cans and about nothing else, and so I want to build this shelf just for cans that goes in this one. It's like wasted space right now, and I can't find anything on the internet that would fit there, but I could build it. And so I want to do that. And then there's another one, which is like a little L, it like goes around a corner, so I'd have to custom make that. And then there's another one. So yeah, that's cool. It's kind of like a superpower when you can use all of your dead space with stuff. The other thing that resonated was I had the exact same experience when I started sewing. And I was sewing because my wife started sewing, and the patterns for sewing are like engineering diagrams are like really hard to figure out. So she would ask me for help, and then I would help her, and then I ended up like kind of doing it too. And you start seeing the same patterns in all your clothes. Like I was like, oh, they use this kind of seam for this, whatever. And the other superpower that sewing gives you is like if something fits kind of wrong, you can fix it, which is actually a really big deal, because like if you have a great piece of clothing and it like either it rips or it just doesn't fit quite right, you can actually change it if you want. So I recommend sewing, even though it's kind of a hobby for I don't know, old ladies or something, but I like doing it too. So
that's so funny to bring up sewing, because that's the next hobby I'm gonna pick up.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm intentionally holding off on buying a sewing machine until I finish these cabinets, because I have too many hobbies going on simultaneously right now.
I have opinions about the best sewing machine and sergers and why you want one or the other.
No. Please let me know, but not right now. Let me finish the cabinets first. But I was trying forever to like justify to myself making my own shirts, because a t-shirt is like, if you get a new one from H&M, it's like $8, and that's like I couldn't buy the material for $8. But I found out a way to justify it, and that's merino wool shirts. Because merino wool, first of all, is fantastic material. It like wicks, and it's anti-odor because it's very antimicrobial, and it's extremely soft. And when you pack for a trip, you only have to bring like 2 or 3 of these shirts, and then you can wear them several days in a row, and then you can just wash them in the sink, and they dry super fast. But merino wool shirts cost like $80 to $120 each. So, okay, now we're talking $80 to $120 each for a shirt. I'm pretty sure I could buy the material for much less than that. And then if I'm making it myself, it's like I can make it exactly what I want, and it's not going to be as outrageous of a time to dollar calculation as it would be if I was making a shirt that I could have bought for $8.
I'm trying to Google merino wool prices per yard. It'll be close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you buy merino wool by the yard? Is that a bolt?
I just looked online. Yeah, but so it's $35 a yard,
Okay.
You'll need at least 2.5 yards to make a shirt. So you're talking $80,
Okay.
$100 just for the fabric for that. But it'll be exactly
Okay.
what you want.
Yeah. Okay. For merino wool, I think I can make it make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like I think it's sort of going to be the same sort of calculation for the cabinets and drawers. Like had I bought just IKEA drawers, it would have been about the same price, but it's not like the custom thing. So, and the same thing for like the rings. When Sarah and I made the rings, if I had just bought a simple ring, it would have been about the same price. But like because we're talking about more expensive things, it feels more justifiable to build them myself, because then I'm not only getting the thing, I'm building the skills to be able to make an infinite number of those things.
Yeah. You
And
also
as
have a
long as I'm
story
spending money on it.
for the rest of your life. You have a story about it. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And then anytime I wear that shirt in public, and if someone compliments my shirt, I get to pause the conversation and be like, "Thank you very much. I made it myself."
That's right.
Let me tell you all about all the different seams in the shirt. Yeah, that's funny. Cool. Chris, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.